Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for waking up today after what I heard was an awesome party last night. So I'm going to talk about my experience with smart cities and the way smart cities have evolved over the past 10 years. Now, why 10 years ago? 10 years ago is when smart cities became really something people talked about, a sexy word. Before that, people were always working with technology, but the meme had not come in because the rate of urbanization was not that fast. And the first approach was smart cities are built largely by the government, and they're largely built through the use of partnerships with very large technology companies like Cisco and IBM. So this is the cover of Barron's in 2011, so not even 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And you can see that the whole idea is partner with these big companies, and then we will build these huge systems, and they will actually be the key to creating a smarter, safer city. Well, that didn't turn out so well for everyone, because a city is a messy entity with lots of players. They're public and private entities, and it's very hard to have they used to call it the operating system of the city. And slowly, what they decided to do instead was to move to a new concept of the smart city, one that's much more realistic, and that says that actually the smart city is built by both public and private companies. It's a partnership between an ecosystem of partners, each of which need to exchange data to help the citizen journey as they move around the city. And so the city is a platform, and the economic wheels of it are the data that are exchanged. And I'm going to give you 2 case studies about the work that I've done and also how Singapore has approached this, so we can kind of think through how does a smart city project even take off. I know Australia has announced its Smart Cities Initiative. Sydney has a vision to have 200,000 more jobs. How does the smart city idea come and execute into reality? Well, here it is. First, you always start with the problem. I have many CEOs all over the world. They'll see me speak or in a magazine, and then they'll say, Ayesha, let's do some artificial intelligence. And I'm like, why? Why do you want to do it? You can never do technology for technology's sake. You always start with a problem that you're trying to solve. And the good news is, all of us don't have to be AI specialists to know what a problem is. We actually know better than the AI specialists because we live in that industry and we know the problems our company, our industry, our country faces. In this case, the largest public transportation company of Singapore realized that it needed to do a better job of engaging customers. And in fact, a lot of people were using the Ubers and other kinds of scooter sharing, autonomous vehicle, and bike sharing platforms. They needed to solve a problem, one personally to them, to increase customer engagement, to increase their revenue, but specifically for the consumer, they needed to understand how their company problem mapped onto a customer problem. And so we sat with them, because my PhD is actually in transportation for smart cities, and we identified that the main problem of somebody in Singapore is what is known as the first and last mile problem, which is very, very common in cities, which is you may take a train somewhere or a bus somewhere, but then you have to walk or take a bike or do something else or take a taxi for the last mile. And the bus station is far away from your home. And in a hot country, this means people either buy cars or book a cab. So if this was the problem, then what could it do to solve it? So we thought, now that we have the problem, again, let's not think about technology, let's think of a solution. And that's when people who thought product design was for techies actually realized that no, it's for us, because we know our customers. So we said, what if there was an app, instead of having to book things on different platforms, one app that you went to, you said your origin and your destination, and it connected you seamlessly. And it recommended the route to you based on your preferences. You could say, I want a green route. Give me a route that is the least expensive. Give me a route so that make sure I walk 5 miles a day. And it knows your habits, it knows the traffic, and it says, okay, there's a bike sharing stop 1 minute away from your house. Get on that. We'll automatically book and reserve it for you. And then go to the MRT and hop on the train, and I'll drop you off at your office. You don't have to go to 3 different apps. You don't have to map it out any other way. Everything for your mobility needs is in one place. And then we start designing it. And if that's the case, then the next thing that happens is most people get very excited and start complicating things. You know, what if we did this and what if we did that? Because the technology is there, let's put VR and this, everything in it. Don't do that. The consumer, the citizen, wants simplicity. It's just like you and me. And what do they want? They just want one thing. They want to search and book and pay. This idea of the customer-centric, citizen-centric, human-centric approach to doing smart cities is fundamentally different between how it used to be thought of before, which was just about technology, and how people think about it now. So, of course, it's simple for the consumer, but now comes what I do, which is at the back. Now you have to integrate all of these different vehicles. And you have to go to the bus system. You have to the public transportation system. You have to get the weather. You have to have a fintech. You have a bank to collaborate with you so people can pay for it. You need two-factor authentication so that you know that the person who's booking it is actually the person who takes the bike. And all of this means that a lot of data exchange happens within the laws of the country. A lot of software is built. A lot of artificial intelligence is needed to actually maximize and optimize the route. So once you've identified the data you need, then you acquire it and you store it. And this is the integration part. And then after that, you can use the AI to personalize the services. And here you can see that we integrated buses, trains, bike sharing, this autonomous vehicle that moves extremely slowly, and car sharing, taxis. And it was really interesting to see the relief, and we piloted it in one of the largest universities in Singapore, how much the students enjoyed it, having these options. And as we began to understand their behavior, we said when it's exam time, students like to cram in their books, and they like to go to these things for snacks and these places, so they prefer shuttles. But when it's a summer day, it's earlier in the fall, then they like to take bikes, they can take scooters. Remember, oftentimes, the data will confirm what you intuitively feel, but it will also tell you things you never felt or realized. So we told them, to the e-scooter company, we said, if you put e-scooters here, we believe the usage will go up. We have a sense that people here, given how we see, remember that thousands of faculty and staff and visitors coming to that university every day. And we had looked at their parking, and we had cameras to see how crowded the buses were, how crowded the parking was. So we had a lot of data that we started mining. And the e-scooter company said, well, you know, we disagree, but fine, we'll put some there. And their usage went up by 50%. And this is why private companies partake in smart city initiatives, because it's a win-win for everybody involved.